calendar, maybe with an X if you're so inclined. It is the Thursday of week 13, November 29th, a little game in Dallas that it appears Dez Bryant will be playing in and not for the Cowboys. Welcome to NFL Total Access with Scott Hansen. I'm Lindsay Rhodes.
Yeah, Dez says go Saints, and that's go spelled G-E-A-U-X. It is a fresh start for the three-time Pro Bowl wide receiver. After a Tuesday workout in New Orleans, Dez Bryant will sign a one-year contract with the Saints. He said that he wanted the right fit. Well, he lands with the team that some people think is the best in the NFL halfway through the season. Now, Dez was not at practice today in New Orleans. He was back at home celebrating his son's birthday. But he's been active on social media throughout the day. When the news broke, he tweeted out his signature hashtag #ThrowUpTheX. And then later, he retweeted this Photoshop from the NFL's Twitter account. So after 7 months after being cut by the Dallas Cowboys, Dez Bryant is back in the NFL. Jane Slater has been all over this story every step of the way. She joins us live from Dez's former football home. Hey, Jane.
Hey there. Well, Dez Bryant will once again be in New Orleans on Thursday playing football and wearing jersey number 88. Bryant has been busy since his release from the Cowboys, working on the mental aspect of his game, but more importantly, the physical one, Scott. He's been working out with wide receiver guru David Robinson on things like foot quickness in short area spaces, intermediate route running, and attacking routes harder. The Saints want to see him drop about 5 pounds, but they were impressed enough with his workout to get the deal done. And when we start talking about some of the boxes that he wanted checked, let's go down the list. An hour-and-a-half flight from Dallas, an offensive-minded coach, a veteran quarterback, and the situation where he doesn't have to be the guy. He needs to complement the weapons they already have. Guys like Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Taysom Hill, Benjamin Watson. You can go down the list. Now, one of the biggest knocks on Dez is how's he going to fit into this locker room? Is he going to disrupt the chemistry? Well, to answer that, I went to his former teammate, Ezekiel Elliott.
You're getting a very passionate football player. You're getting a very passionate individual, and I think sometimes that's looked at the wrong way. And the people who love this game, who've played, they can understand that. But I think it's somewhat harder for other people to kind of figure that out. But I think he's going to be a good veteran for that team. They already have a lot of great weapons, and it's nothing like adding another sharp tool to that toolbox. So I think it's going to be great for him in New Orleans.
And Elliott fielded about 4 questions from the media about Dez Bryant and the Saints, where he said, all right, are we not talking about the Cowboys? But keep in mind, as Lindsay mentioned earlier, November 29th, that is the date to circle. That is when the Saints come here to play at AT&T Stadium. As Dez said, he plans on throwing up the X, and we are certainly going to be talking about that a lot this week. He already has T-shirts out, guys, too. Reference to the go, well, he's already got it. Throw up the X in Cajun. He's got it spelled T-H-E-A-U-X. He gets the fan base already.
All right, 3 weeks from tomorrow, by the way, that Saints at Cowboys game right here on NFL Network. Jane, thank you. Lindsay?
So what are the Saints getting in Bryant? Well, for starters, they're getting a receiver who's found the end zone 58 times since 2012. Only receiver who's scored more than that is Antonio Brown, and he's got 12 games on Bryant. That said, the bulk of those touchdowns did come before 2015. His numbers since have not been as prolific. We could argue about why that is. I would rather focus, though, on what is going to be, especially since we have a guy who has covered him before in Will Blackmon and a fellow wide receiver in James Jones. Is this a good fit for him here?
Absolutely. Listen, you're going to Drew Brees, a Hall of Fame quarterback that knows how to throw his receivers open. When Dez was at his best, he was with Tony Romo, can throw him open. But listen, Dez Bryant, he's one of those receivers that we haven't seen since Randy Moss, since Calvin Johnson, and I'll put Larry Fitzgerald in there too. When the ball is in the air, it is his. He's a special receiver when the ball is in the air. And he's going to get these opportunities. He's going to be on the second corner, sometimes the third corner, and Drew Brees is going to give him these opportunities. I know people want to say he doesn't have top-end speed, he doesn't run routes. He's never did that. Dez got paid by the Cowboys because he makes special catches. And we haven't seen too many players in our league that can go up and make catches like Dez Bryant. And he's going to get opportunities. I'm excited for him, especially with Malcolm Thomas on the other side.
Well, and you know about those special catches firsthand, right? Like, well, you've had the distinct privilege or not of trying to defend
First of all, it's just crazy. It's mind-boggling, like, all the slander that I'm reading across social media, other networks that's going on saying, like, Dez can't separate, Dez can't create, whatever. It's hard to get away from defensive backs, period, in this league. And for me personally, going against him, I just know how strong he was, just how athletic he was. And you mentioned, you know, him making the big plays. That's why he throws up the X, because he is the X factor. I remember this game specifically. I was like, you know what? He can't run by me. Then he hit me with the whoop-hop, threw the ball up there, and I'm like, he's not going to get it. But that's what he does right there. He is the X factor. I knew he couldn't run by me in this case, but
yeah, that's good coverage.
That's good coverage right there.
Hey,
but it was a great throw and great catch.
Great offense, be good
but people have to understand, like you said, James, this is what he does. Yes. He is the X factor. He makes big time plays all the time. That's his. He actually used to return punts. So never mind his speed, he can do that as well. So it's crazy. It really takes me off about this whole thing, and I'm just really happy for Dez that he's in a perfect situation right now.
So the stuff about him potentially losing a step or the inability to get separation in the last few years.
The fact that he's 30 years old, that's young. 30 years old, that's crazy. As soon as you hit 30, all of a sudden you're supposed to drop in all your stats and your ability. It's unreal. Right now I'm 34, and when I worked out for the Browns this offseason, I ran the 40. I did a 5-10. I did a whole combine. They're like, wow, your combine drills are faster than you were when you came out of college. I'm like, I know, dude. I'm not ancient. I'm not in crutches. Like, it's unreal.
But Will does bring up a great point. When the Cowboys paid Dez $70 million, it wasn't because he was a great route runner.
Touchdowns.
It wasn't because he's blowing the top off defenses. He was a playmaker. When the ball is in the air, Dez is going to make the play, and he did it time after time after time. And then when he fell off a little bit, which all receivers go through, you have that season where you have the dropsies, and he had that, and now everybody's saying he doesn't separate, he doesn't run good. He never did that. But when the ball's in the air, he's special, and that's what made him an elite receiver.
Well, I can't wait to see what he does with as many weapons around him as he will have in New Orleans. And also, I can't wait to see what his experience does to that room. He right now has more targets, catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns than every other wideout on that entire Saints team combined. Another veteran signing today that could be very interesting moving forward is Bruce Irvin to the Atlanta Falcons, who are coming off their best defensive game of the year after a rough start to the year. They've struggled to get to the quarterback. That is something that Irvin has done over the years. In fact, it's something he did for Dan Quinn in Seattle for a couple of years, Will.
Oh, this is a perfect situation. One, Bruce gets to go home. He had other offers from the Patriots and Steelers, and for more money and turned that down. I talked to Coach Dan Quinn, and he said, you need more pass rushers. He says like oxygen. You can never have enough. So it's a perfect situation. They used to be together in Seattle, and now he's there at home on a team that's, you know, on the way right now.
Yeah, this is his hometown team. He says he's super excited to play for them, and they could be getting another linebacker back soon. Deion Jones, who broke his foot in week 1, back on the practice field today and eligible to return to the roster in week 11. Meanwhile, it looks like we've got a different foot injury to monitor up north in New York. Sam Darnold debuting a walking boot at practice today, a practice in which he did not participate ahead of a game in which he is not expected to play. Ian Rappaport reporting today that we will not see the rookie quarterback for a couple of weeks, in fact. What's going on, Ian?
Well, here's what we know about Sam Darnold and his foot injury, which you mentioned did leave him as a spectator during today's practice. Todd Bowles did not specifically rule him out for Sunday, though from what I understand, not expected to play. And then the Jets have a bye with Sam Darnold dealing with this foot strain or sprain, depending on whichever Todd Bowles wants to describe it. Either way, he's not going to see the field for probably 2 weeks. At that point, he will be evaluated to figure out, is he going to be able to be back? This is not something that was described to me as a major injury, so it is conceivable that he's back after the bye. Meanwhile, it's going to be Josh McCown in as the starter. They're expected to promote Davis Webb from the practice squad and obviously hope that a breath of fresh air and a deep breath for Sam Darnold does him some good.
Josh McCown against the Bills. He has not thrown a pass yet this season, but obviously has quite a bit in the past for the Jets. Thank you very much, Ian.
Well, we got Thursday night football tomorrow night. Maybe the best game of the week out of all the games in the National Football League. We got first place Pittsburgh hosting 6-2 Carolina tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, right here on NFL Network, on Fox, and streaming on Prime Video. And guess who's in town just in time for the big game? Aditi Kinkhabwala, and is expected to contact Steelers brass about taking a physical. Still no sign of him at the team facility, however, but we do have reports saying he is in Pittsburgh. Now, right before we came on the air at NFL Total Access, Le'Veon Bell tweeted this out. He actually tweeted these words upside down. We're just translating it so it's easier for you folks to read right now, as I will try and read it myself. Just about everybody has an opinion on my life and worried about what I'm doing. Don't judge me off my decision because maybe this isn't what you do. But most people don't take the time to simply read between the lines, and that's clearly on them. I'm not going to apologize for what I believe is right for myself, family, and the rest of my peers, period. Also, if you're really finding the time to figure out what I'm saying, you've proved my point. As for his teammates, they're all focusing on their energies on beating the Panthers. Aditi Kinkhabwala from Pittsburgh.
The Steelers defense is definitely bowed up during this 4-game win streak. They haven't allowed more than 21 points in any of those games. But the Steelers know that this Panthers offense, led by offensive coordinator Norv Turner, is definitely the most dynamic since the one they saw week 2 against the Chiefs. In fact, linebacker TJ Watt told me it reminds him a lot of that Chiefs offense, just in the way there's an athletic quarterback who'll run by design, the way that there are so many different dynamic threats, and the way the whole field is used. Watt told me that on such a short week, the Steelers' keys will be to be fast, be physical, and not to confuse themselves. Now, of course, as Mike Tomlin said, the other guys only have 4 days too, and so therefore, he's not complaining.
Aditi, thank you. So 2 teams with strong winning records, 2 teams that are also on a roll coming in with win streaks. 4 straight for Pittsburgh, 3 straight for Carolina. Someone's streak will be snapped on Thursday night, barring a tie, of course. By the way, they've been blowing out teams as well. Both of these teams. Looks like an even matchup on paper, but James Jones gave us the wow moment in our pre-production meeting because you say this is going to be a blowout.
I say it's going to be a blowout. Like my grandma used to tell me, they're going to beat the brakes off them. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to beat the brakes off the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Carolina's going to blow out Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
Carolina Panthers are going to beat the brakes off the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Listen, they're playing great football right now. And the bright spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers is James Conner. And the bright spot for the Carolina Panthers is their defense and their linebackers, Kuechly and Thomas. And I think they are going to slow him down. I'm going on record saying that he probably won't have 50 yards rushing. They are going to slow him down. They are going to stop him. They diagnose plays so fast, these two right here. I want to say they both were Defensive Player of the Year at one point. They are ballers, and this defense is balling. But with that said, if Pittsburgh is going to compete, I think this is an Antonio Brown game. They are going to shut down the running game, and Antonio Brown hasn't been having the biggest games, yards-wise and touchdowns-wise. This is the game where he shows up with 150, 160, 2 touchdowns to get Pittsburgh to the win if it's going to happen for them. But I don't see that happen. I see Carolina Panthers running away with it.
Okay, if that happens, if the Steelers lose badly at home, and James Conner's held to like under 50 yards, and on Monday morning at the team facility, there's a knock on the door, and it's Lev Bell. Imagine the drama then. James, strong take right there. We'll find out tomorrow. Hey, by the way, notable injuries going into Week 10. Let's start with the Carolina Panthers. Eric Reed, the safety who had an interception last week for that Carolina defense, he is questionable for the game with a shoulder injury. Josh Allen, limited in practice with his elbow. Limited in practice was Lane Johnson for the Eagles offensive line. He's got a knee. Ryan Tannehill listed as out, and Christian Kirksey, the linebacker from Cleveland, has been put on IR with a hamstring injury. So Ryan Tannehill listed as out this week, and according to the league, the team should have come clean about his injury a few weeks ago. According to Ian Rappaport, the Dolphins and coach Adam Gase have been fined $30,000 and $15,000 respectively for listing Tannehill as a full participant in practice before the Week 6 matchup against the Bears. Brock Osweiler ended up getting the start that week. Well, good news for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Leonard Fournette is back at practice. Fournette had missed most of the first half of the season with a hamstring injury. The Jags are watching him closely in practice, but he could be set to return Sunday against the Colts.
Sunday night, it's a Philly fight. We are
just don't really like the franchise or the organization, what it stands for, what it's always stood for. I've just never really appreciated what the organization and what its fans really stood for, you know.
Nice.
A lot of fair weather people from across the country that just kind of fell in love because they're winners instead of having any type of emotional connection to the team whatsoever.
Weather in Philly today, low 60s. Mike Garofalo is there with this report.
Yep, it's a rivalry week here in Philadelphia. I was in the Eagles locker room on Wednesday. Everybody seems to understand that. Everybody, including Golden Tate, who's only been here for about 8 days. Tate has been working with the coaches to learn the terminology of the Eagles system since being acquired via trade last week. But there's nothing like those live reps in practice with Carson Wentz. He finally got those on Wednesday, and Wentz believes that there's a lot of upside to a connection with him and Tate.
I mean, everyone's different. You know, everyone's different. Obviously, the more reps, the better. But at the same time, you try and, you turn on the film of what he's done in Detroit to try and just see his body language a little bit on routes and what he's good at and those types of things. So, like I said, it'll be big to finally get out there today and finally start to get used to him and build that chemistry right away.
Wentz and the Eagles coming off a bye. It allowed a couple of guys to heal up, including running back Darren Sproles. Hasn't played since the opener. They're hopeful he will make his return this week. Also, right tackle Lane Johnson. They thought he might miss a couple of games with his knee injury he suffered against the Jaguars, but he's expected to play as well. Asked somebody here about that. They said it's Cowboys week, and if Lane can stand up, he's going to play. Now to Jane Slater with those Cowboys.
Thanks, Mike. The Cowboys sit at 3-5 right now as they get themselves ready to go on the road for the rivalry game against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. Now, believe it or not, walking into that locker room today, surprisingly optimistic. Running back Ezekiel Elliott tells me their mentality this week is it's us against the world. He says they've got to try and win as many games as possible now if they want a shot at the playoffs. With that being said, the Cowboys do have a tough one ahead. The Eagles at 4-4 have got some stuff to figure out themselves, but they're coming off a bye week, so they are fresh, and it looks like they're getting back their running back, Darren Sproles. Here's another thing to be concerned about. They come in with the number 2 ranked run defense, and this is something the Cowboys have had a hard time with as of late. Elliott says they've got to start off fast. They've got to get their run game going. In 3 of his last 4 contests, he's been held to 61 yards or fewer.
Well, you take a look at this. When the Cowboys have asked Dak Prescott to be a throw-first quarterback, 30 or more passing attempts in a game, he has regressed, at least statistically speaking, from his rookie year all the way here to 2018. Let's bring in former league MVP now, Kurt Warner. By the way, he is not the Hall of Fame quarterback who called for a complete overhaul of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. That was the other guy, Troy Aikman. As for Kurt Warner, do you see the struggles continuing for Dak? They play at Philadelphia this weekend.
I tell you what, Scott, I do. And I watch a couple different things. You know, it's not just about stats for me, but, you know, the first thing I watch is timing of throws. And when I watch Dak play, I feel like he just holds the ball too long. Like he's not definitive in what he's seeing. He's not getting back, making quick decisions and getting the ball out of his hands. And so when you're holding it and you're getting sacks and you're getting pressure and you're not making some of those tight plays that you can make if you throw on time. And then the second thing is the playmakers. You know, I know they added Amari Cooper, but I'm still waiting to see somebody in that offense that can make the big catch or the contested play for Dak Prescott, and I just haven't seen it.
Elsewhere in the NFC East, the Giants had a decision to make at quarterback. Pat Shurmur took the bye week and said, I'm sticking with Eli. Do you agree with that move?
I do agree with the move. Is that when you give Eli time, I think he can still be effective in this league. And for me, the bottom line is you never want to assess any position, especially the quarterback position, if all the pieces around him aren't clicking on all cylinders. And with all the issues they've had up front, I think it's very hard to say, well, Eli can't play anymore. This is on Eli. You've got to fix the problems up front, and then you can truly assess where Eli's at.
Monday Night Football against the Niners up next for the Giants. All right, Kurt, stand by. Your top 5 coming up later on. Up next on the show, we're going to examine the unique atmospheric condition known as the Dez effect, also known as the X Factor. Do we expect him to even play against the Bengals? If so, what do we expect Cincinnati to do about it? And one more, is he worth adding to your fantasy roster as a starter? We'll give you answers next.
I know that this guy has heard it all before. Tom Brady, who posted a perfect fourth quarter passer rating against the Packers and is now preparing to face a couple of people that he knows very well that are with the Titans. More on that now. Here's Mike Giardi in Foxborough.
Bill Belichick wants none of our narratives this week. He spoke over 1,800 words at his Wednesday press conference, but never once mentioned Malcolm Butler by name. And trust me, he was asked. And in fact, one reporter brought up the fact that Butler is rated maybe the worst cornerback in the entire National Football League by one scouting bureau. And Belichick looked at him and deadpanned and said, yeah, that means a lot to me. Look, those two guys will be forever linked. Butler, of course, now with the Tennessee Titans on a $61 million contract, $24 million guaranteed. He has given up 7 touchdowns. Butler himself, Wednesday at the practice facility in Tennessee, said, look, it's just another game. We got to go out and play.
Patriots-Titans, one of 8 1 o'clock games on Sunday. Another one of them, New Orleans-Cincinnati, which was already interesting for a number of reasons. 2 winning teams that are capable of putting up a lot of points. And now we've got Dez Bryant in this mix as well. More specifically, Drew Brees does. Here's what he had to say today about his new teammate.
I've heard a lot of great things about him. I think he'll add a good element to already a pretty good cast of skilled players. Look forward to getting to work with him.
So James Jones, he's not practicing today, Dez Bryant. Would Sunday be too soon to expect him on the field against the Bengals?
He's going to be on the field. He's going to have a hoodie on. He's going to have his Jordans on. He's going to be out there swagged out. No, I would not expect Dez to play. Listen, it's hard to get in football shape. Like, I understand you out there training and running routes on air by yourself, but it's different when somebody's pushing on you and you're trying to stop. You got to, look, you're going to get sore all over again. He has to get himself in football shape. And then playbook-wise, it's not extremely hard to learn a playbook, but when it comes to signals, because defenses is disguising their coverages, that's when it gets hard. When I was in Green Bay, they put me in, threw me in there with Brett Favre, said, look, you starting, go out there. Brett gave me a signal, and I'm like, huh? What? What's that? I'm throwing my hands up, and I'm like, I don't know none of that. So that's going to take some time for Dez. It'll come. They'll have packages in for him, but this week I don't see him playing.
What did you do?
I just jogged off the ball like. Then I seen it was a pass play, and I just took off running deep, threw my hand up like throw it here.
There's no way to simplify it. No. Like you can't keep him out of any of that, and I mean.
No, because defenses are going to disguise. So it's going to come times to where they can go say, look, go out there, run an in route. But if the defense does this, and Drew Brees got to give you a signal to change your route, that's when it gets hard. So I don't expect him this week.
Well, whether he does play this week or not, and it doesn't sound like we're expecting him to, he will play eventually. And you might be wondering what that means for your fantasy team. And Michael Fabiano has those answers.
Thanks, Lizzie. Yeah, Dez Bryant needs to be owned in all fantasy football leagues. But let's remember last year, this was a guy who had trouble getting open against man coverage. He wasn't the elite fantasy wide receiver that he had been back in the Tony Romo days. Now, I get it. The Saints have a lot of weapons on offense. They have a great quarterback in Drew Brees. But also keep in mind, a lot of mouths to feed. Michael Thomas is there. Mark Ingram is there. Alvin Kamara is there. Pick him up. Don't exactly start him, and we'll see how Dez performs. Lindsay, back to you.
Don't need anyone to tell you what to do with this guy in fantasy. Todd Gurley leading the way in fantasy football this season and in real football too. Look at that column on the right. The most touches in the league, the most rushing yards, the most rushing touchdowns, the most scrimmage yards, the most scrimmage touchdowns. He is killing it. Will that continue this week against Seattle, though? Are there ways that the Seahawks might be able to slow that down, Sean O'Hara?
Yeah, Lindsay, it's a good question. I think they've got to do a better job from the safety position, helping out with run support. There's another word that starts with M that I think of with Todd Gurley, and it's MVP. Yeah, he's the most important player and most valuable player on his team, but it might just be in the league. Let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks because, Lindsay, I don't recognize this defense when I turn on the film. Let's take you back to last week against the Chargers. 113 yards rushing they gave up to Melvin Gordon. Look at this toss play right here. This is just a perimeter run. You get a hat on a hat. I want you to look at this alleyway right here that's created for Melvin Gordon. All right, they're certainly missing Earl Thomas and that ability. Obviously, if he was there, maybe that's a different play. But it's not just the running backs that are gashing them for run plays. This is a jet sweep by Keenan Allen. Right? Frank Clark, the defensive end, acts like he's never seen this before. I guarantee you they've run it from the scout team. I guarantee he's seen it from other teams because everybody's doing it around the league. And oh yeah, by the way, in week 5, the Rams ran the same exact play against them. So the defense is not doing a good job in their awareness. They're not doing a good job in shutting down this jet sweep. Don't be surprised if you see this exact same play again because they haven't put that fire out yet. Of course, we're going to see a lot more of Todd Gurley. The Saints kept him in check last week, but I expect this front, the big boys in front of Todd Gurley, to do what they've been doing all season long. Nobody's doing a better job of springing him to the second level than the Rams offensive line. Todd Gurley, I expect him to have a big game. He's going to be licking his chops. Scott, you don't have him on your fantasy team. Not that you need any help, but if you did, you would definitely be starting him.
Yo, absolutely. He is a must start. All right, Sean, that's a good division matchup in the NFC West. How about the AFC South battle? Jags at Colts on Sunday. First game between these two teams since Jalen Ramsey's preseason GQ article. Remember the one in which Ramsey said he didn't think Andrew Luck was any good? Well, Luck was asked about that in his news conference today. He didn't take the cheese, though. He just said nice things with a smile on his face like Andrew Luck usually does. You look at the Colts offense versus the Jags defense. Top 10 units in terms of total points per game and total yards per game. So this is a strength-on-strength matchup Sunday in Indianapolis. Will, which one of those units, Colts offense, Jags defense, has the advantage in your mind?
It's going to be the Colts offense, and it's their offensive line. Hands down, the most improved unit in the entire NFL. Last year, when they played the Jaguars, when they lost 27-0, the Jaguars had 10 sacks in that game.
Ugly.
The Colts offensive line gave up 10 sacks this entire season so far. I talked to Coach GM Chris Ballard this morning. Yes, this morning.
Okay.
And he told me that after those 2 games they lost to Jacksonville last year, he would go back to his office embarrassed and sick to his stomach. And he said, you know what? We are soft. He said, this is probably one of the softest offensive lines I have ever seen. So he obviously he addressed it in the offseason with the draft.
Quentin Nelson.
Yep. Brady Smith, and brought Matt McGloin in over. He already had Costanzo there and Ryan Kelly, the center. And just as a whole unit, they are just playing tremendous and outstanding. And I believe that is why they are playing extremely well right now in offense.
Both of these teams are 3-5, and with Houston on their winning streak right now, this could be an elimination game.
This is a tough game right here. I can see the Colts. Right now, they have a lot of AFC South games coming up, and they are a dark horse for me right now. I can see them, if they can get this done here, which I think they will.
Okay.
They got an interesting schedule coming up.
Loser takes a torpedo. Number 9. Now, this man has a Super Bowl ring, an MVP trophy, and a gold jacket from the Hall of Fame. So when he gives us his top 5 list, and it has 6 names on it, who are we to argue? KW, who do you got today?
I tell you what, it is a stacked list at the top, but there's 2 guys at the number 5 spot that I thought deserved recognition this week. And it's Nick Mullins, and it's Marcus Mariota. Those 2 guys, in big primetime games, I thought played tremendous football. Nick Mullins making his debut on Thursday Night Football and just came out. And, I might be partial to guys that, get their opportunity and nobody knows who they are. But it was fun for him to be the only show in town and to come out and play like he did. And then Marcus Mariota, there's been a lot of questions about him. I thought he played one of his best games of the year Monday night. Now can he consistently put games like that together? Number 4 on the list is a guy that just ho-hum, threw for 375 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's like every week, but Patrick Mahomes gets the number 4 spot, but only because the next guy, Matt Ryan, is playing lights out. Dare I say better than his than his MVP season. Wow. He's got a whole bunch of touchdowns, very few interceptions, starting to get the recognition that he needs now because the team is starting to win. And another guy that's maybe playing better than his MVP season is the guy at number 2, Cam Newton. I'll be the first one to say I wasn't sure how it was going to work out with him and Norv Turner, but he's got a higher quarterback rating, and his completion percentage is 7 points better than his MVP season, making big plays both with his legs and his arm. And then number 1 on the list is one of those guys that's going to be a front runner for the MVP this year, and that's Drew Brees. In a big moment, in a huge game, knocking off the undefeated Rams, but goes for 4 touchdowns. over 300 yards, and just playing unbelievable football in New Orleans.
Well, the NFC South, according to you, is dealing Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans quarterbacks at 3-2-1. The fans weighed in, as they always do, on NFL.com. Here is their top 5 list. All right, so the difference is there. They have Jared Goff and Tom Brady in the top 5. Any argument?
Well, no love for the young guys, I guess. I mean, Nick Mullins was great. You got to give him some love. Marcus Mariota, good. I mean, you know, you can put Tom Brady up there every week, especially when he gets a big win against Green Bay. But I like giving some love to some of those different guys.
And they had Breeze 1, as you did as well. And Breeze adding more firepower with the acquisition of Dez Bryant. Kurt, good to see you. Enjoy Week 10.
Week 10 about to get off to a hot start in both real football and fantasy. Time for Best Choice presented by Golden Corral. Michael Fabiano here to help you know what to expect as far as the ladder is concerned for this Thursday night football game, which feels like it has the potential to be a bit of a fantasy bonanza.
Barn burner, no doubt about it. A lot of fantasy stars in this one.
Yeah, starting with this guy, James Conner, who's been on fire in these last 4 weeks.
28-plus points in 4 straight games. I will project him for 23.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's still pretty good, guys, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll take it.
Should be a high-scoring game.
Okay, what about Christian McCaffrey, who's coming off a really good week of his own?
I say 19, just under his average in PPR leagues. Now, keep in mind, the Steelers have been tough on running backs this season in terms of rushing the football. But this guy will give you 5+ catches almost week in and week out, and that's why he gets a very solid projection.
What about Cam?
What about, Cam is great. And I'm going to say his average is 23. I'm going to go 24 points for Cameron Jarrell Newton, who has been just as good a passer this season as he has been a rusher. This guy is one of the best fantasy quarterbacks of the last 10 years. And in what should be a barn burner in Pittsburgh, I say he is a must-start. No question.
As Steelers are concerned, okay, AB, Juju, they've been consistent. We assume that they're going to get theirs. You want to start them. Why is Vance McDonald on our screen?
Because I like him as a sleeper. In fact, I say he goes above his average to give you 11 PPR points. The Carolina Panthers have given up more fantasy points to tight ends than any team in the league. Just ask anyone who started O.J. Howard last week. He's a good sleeper.
All right, good stuff. Can't wait for this game. Coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday right here on NFL Network. And for more fantasy information, you can go to NFL.com/fantasy. Texans riding a 6-game winning streak after a 3-game losing streak to start the season. A lot of people have helped to make that happen, and this guy is one of them. Kareem Jackson coming off a massive Week 9 against the Broncos. Can we talk about the hit on Phillip Lindsay? I mean, talk about a stars aligning, ow, moment. What do you remember most about this?
I just remember the quarterback turning and throwing him into, we was in kind of a trap coverage. And, for me, my eyes kind of lit up. So it's one of those things like, I'm going to get a chance to really lay this hit. So just try to make it clean so I didn't get a flag. So, it turned out good.
Clean, big, and the reaction from your teammates, what was that like when you went back to them?
That was a lot of fun, just to kind of see those guys on the sideline and everybody kind of get into it. Hits like that can kind of be a turning point in the game. For us, it kind of, boosted our morale and kind of got us going a little bit more. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it energized the team, which has had so many reasons to be energized in these last few weeks. How have you guys turned things around so dramatically? I mentioned the 3-game losing streak to start the season and now 6 straight wins.
We've just been able to eliminate some of the bad football we were playing. The first 3 games, we felt like we kind of beat ourselves. We lost by 7, we lost by 5, and we lost by 3. So for us, it's just about eliminating those bad plays. And once we start to do that and these games started to swing in our, in our direction, we've been able to get some wins.
Feels like you're getting healthier, too. Deshaun Watson's getting hit a lot less and recovering from that chest injury.
Right.
That sounded awful. The guy couldn't fly.
Right.
Was that as touch and go for him as it felt like it was there for a minute?
Yeah, it was, because for us, we didn't really know, the extent of the injury. Just kind of saying, trying to see if he was going to play. It was one of those things where he really couldn't practice. So, for him to be able to go out and play in the way he did, for us to go get a win, it just shows, the type of strength he has and the type of player he is.
What was that like for you guys on the team? You're rolling into a game where your quarterback literally can't fly with you because he's so beat up. You're like, okay, I'll see you on the field and hope it goes well.
Right, yeah. He had to end up taking a bus. I think it was like a 13-hour drive. So I was like, we'll see you there. I definitely don't want to take that 13-hour drive with you. But I mean, Deshaun's a warrior, man. He's one of our leaders in the locker room. He's the leader on the field. So, like I said, it's just a testament to his strength and, the type of guy and type of player that he is.
Well, you've got a week off this week, and you have certainly earned it. 51 tackles, 10 passes defensed, 2 picks, 2 fumbles. What a year for you so far, Kareem. Thank you so much for joining us here, and good luck the rest of the way.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
I want to let you know that the Pro Bowl is back in Orlando, and this year, new for you fans, your ticket will also get you special access to the AFC and NFC seating sections, player red carpet viewing, and more. Go to NFL.com/Pro Bowl on sale for tickets to the game, presented by Verizon. About a week right now in terms of the Twitter side of things. We're at 1.3 million. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on Twitter right now, just send out a tweet saying anything you want. Tell them Scott sent you. But put the hashtag salute to service, and the NFL will donate $5 to this ongoing total, and the money at the end of the month. Yesterday, midterm elections across the United States, and some former NFL players are now members of Congress. Former Colts wide receiver Anthony Gonzalez elected to Ohio's 16th congressional district yesterday, and former Titans linebacker Colin Allred. He pulled off an upset, winning Dallas County's 32nd congressional district. Congratulations to both.